So I was looking at some of the comments of some of these trolls on other people's videos and community tabs and things like that, and they're belittling people, saying they're going to be alone for Christmas, they're going to be miserable for Christmas, things like that. This got me thinking about the mental health status of the people that are trolling. And it's interesting because what was the first video that ever got me to incur the wrath of trolls? Well, it was a video I did years back. I'm going to see if I even still have it. I might have gotten rid of it. On the DSM and how psychology, the DSM is the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual for mental illnesses, okay? And I know upon the testimony, the personal, private testimony of at least 3 psychiatrists that I was personally friends with, and am personally friends with 2 of them still, that they don't believe in the DSM. And a lot of people will say, I don't believe mental illness exists. I've never said I don't believe that mental illness or mental health disorders exist. This is where people come into a weird area with me, like, because I say positive things about Scientology. I'm not a Scientologist. I want to make sure people know that, but people for some reason believe I'm a Scientologist, believe I'm a Freemason, believe I'm a Jesuit, believe I'm this, believe I'm that. I'm none of these things. I'm me. But a lot of people will say I don't believe that mental illness exists, and I would state, no, I believe mental illness is a very real thing. I believe that but my belief in mental illness, now mind you, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a mental health professional, I'm not a chiropractor, not an RN, nothing like that. My view of mental health is that there are 2 types of mental illness. There is mental illness that comes with a physiological root. It's centered in a physiological area, meaning it's a neurological or even a immunological or it's a medical condition that is causing mental health symptoms to arise. It could even be diabetes, things like that. And that's one of the problems is a lot of times people with mental illnesses actually have physical health illness. They have physical health ailments that are not being treated properly because they're diagnosed prematurely with mental health illness, or mental health disorders. Or it is an existential issue. Like a lot of the problems that I have, now I have legit medical issues at this point, but, or I should say medically centered mental health issues like PTSD, which is a neurological issue. But then there are other areas where it seems to be more of an existential issue, an existential crisis. And like I said, I believe that psychology is helpful, like philosophy or religion is helpful, but psychology is also harmful, like philosophy or religion is harmful. My point, again, is, can you imagine the mental health status of people that go to their comment sections on their videos, and take the time to tell them, you're going to be alone for Christmas. You're going to be miserable. Maybe if you were a decent person, you wouldn't be alone for Christmas. Maybe if you were this way or that way, you wouldn't be alone for Christmas. Other people will be around for Christmas. Christmas is about other people, not about yourself, blah, 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 blah. Now, the mental health status of people like this is clearly that they are sadistic people. They are mean, sadistic people. I believe that certain personality traits are ingrained. I believe people are born with certain personality traits, and I believe that these personality traits are enforced by the environment. I'm a big believer in the work of Konrad Lorenz. I'm a big believer in the work of the American and Soviet psychologists that use science, actual physiology, to explain things more than the German schools of psychoanalysis, which are mostly philosophy disguised as medicine in many ways, but in some ways, such as Viktor Frankl's concepts of logotherapy, or Abraham Maslow, mind you, he's an American, but Abraham Maslow's concept of the hierarchy of needs, I find to be extremely important in understanding the existential crises that lead to mental health issues. and mental and behavioral health concerns. But my point is that these trolls, whenever they're telling you you're sick, or you need psychiatric help, or you need to take your medicine, or you need this, or you need that, where are they coming from? They're not coming from a place of mental well-being or emotional well-being, clearly. And in fact, I like to use the term emotional wellness a lot more than mental wellness, because most people are mentally well. They're just emotionally unwell. It's their emotions they're having problems with. They're emotionally imbalanced. They're not necessarily mentally imbalanced a lot of times. A lot of times what happens is cognition suffers after long-term emotional imbalance. And that's why you see people that are cognitively a little kooky sometimes, like me. You'll see me get cognitively whacked a bit, and I won't be thinking... my brain won't be running on all cylinders after I've been emotionally distraught for a couple months or years on end, as it has been in my case at this point. But my point is you have to look at these people that are attacking the targeted individuals. Are they healthy-minded? No, not in the least. They're not healthy-minded in the least, or they wouldn't be doing what they're doing. There is no healthy-minded person that would be doing the things that these people are doing. There is no emotionally healthy person that would be doing the things these people are doing. The whole act of trolling is the act of being mentally and emotionally unstable. And that's just my 2 cents. I don't know why nobody else is pointing this out on a more regular basis. But that was also what led me to believe and I still do believe that my former employer was the primary center of this from the beginning, is that people got very ticked off that I was calling out the Psychological Association for having no science involved in their understanding of human behavior. And they don't, okay? And it's a joke. It really is a joke. And I think it's funny because so many people think that, practitioners of behavioral health are somehow magical healers. Nobody ever asks, why doesn't anybody really ever get better that's going to receive behavioral health treatment or a mental health treatment or whatever they want to call it? The people, generally speaking, don't get better. If you go to a doctor and you have a physical ailment, they give you a pill, or they give you an injection, or they give you a certain therapy, and your ailment gets better, correct? That's what happens with physical ailments. When you get a vaccination, I probably shouldn't have said that word, but when you get, like, say, I recently got the flu vaccine, and I'll eventually have to get the other vaccine prior to travel. Unfortunately, somebody changed their laws. And, I'll be getting that, but generally speaking, when you get a vaccination, it makes your body create antibodies, which helps prevent a severe illness, generally speaking. And in some cases, it's eradicated whole diseases, like polio, okay? It saved lives from diseases like rabies, okay? And this is the magic of modern medicine. Look at behavioral health. Behavioral health, I used to make fun of behavioral health saying it's voodoo. Honestly, as a long-time practitioner of West African, American voodoo, I should say, I've long time practiced the root practices, which is the use of vegetation and minerals and things like that. I've not practiced magic in a long time, but when I did, I practiced root magic for a long time, maybe about 10 years. I can say one thing, even if it's a placebo effect, I will say that root work or hoodoo or voodoo seems to actually be more effective than a lot of behavioral health treatments. And that's what's humorous, is something like hoodoo or voodoo. And I'm going to leave a link to my series on voodoo and brujeria, voodoo, hoodoo, and brujeria. My point is these things actually seem more effective than the actual behavioral health that people go and pay an arm and a leg for and are court mandated to, and things of that nature. that do not produce a health benefit. They don't produce an effect in the end. But my point is ultimately that you have to look at these trolls. These trolls are wicked people. They're not good people. They're trying to bully people during the holiday season, one of the worst times for suicides, and they don't care. What makes me immune to this, I've never cared about the holidays. When I was a Satanist, one of the first things I did was I differentiated between what was man-made and what was natural. None of the Christian holidays are natural. None of the Christian holidays, in my opinion, come from God. None of them. None of them come from God. Now, that doesn't mean that I am upset with people that choose to celebrate whatever they choose to celebrate. But my point is it never bothered me about this holiday or that holiday or my birthday or what have you. Well, I try to live as much in the moment as is humanly possible. And as far as I'm concerned, religious holidays like Christmas are distractions from living in the moment. I don't even practice, if I had a family, I probably would, but I don't have a family, but I don't even practice observance of the solstices and equinoxes or the cross quarters. If I had kids, I probably would, just to give them, something to celebrate. I probably would celebrate them along the Christian calendar as opposed to the pagan calendar, as opposed to the solar year. I would use the Gregorian year simply because that's what people are used to. And it wouldn't make my metaphorical family stand out in society. By observing average, everyday Christian holidays, we wouldn't stand out very much. But my point is that these holidays are a distraction from living in the moment. They're a distraction from living in the now. And most of them are so polluted with consumerism, it's absolutely disgusting. It is disgusting. There's no meaning left in these holidays. A lot of people, every year you'll see in the Catholic churches, the Lutheran churches, the Ukrainian Orthodox churches, all the churches in my area will have the, put Christ back in Christmas in the all around. What about just take the consumerism the hell out of Christmas? Say it like it is. Take the capitalism out of Christmas. Put back family values. Put back communitarianism. Put back what belongs in this time of year. And maybe you might just see a better turn. You might see society turn a bit better. That's one of the reasons I prefer Thanksgiving. I see Thanksgiving as the archetypal American Harvest Festival. It's one of the only false holidays I find to be truly worth celebrating, although I don't celebrate it because it's a big meat-centered holiday with turkey slaughter and whatnot. But I like the way it incorporates the Native American culture, if you're practicing it authentically as it was. It's symbolic of whether it's mythological or not, and it is semi-mythological, but every nation needs its mythology. Every people needs its mythology, as did the white Anglo-Saxon Protestant people that founded this republic. And it celebrates the unification, quite symbolic, I might add, and quite perhaps mythological, but the symbolic partnership of the indigenous Americans and the Anglo-Saxon Americans, the white Anglo-Saxon Americans. And it represents the reunification of the North and the South after the Civil War, which is where you get things like candied yams that have yams, which are a southern food, and maple syrup, which is a northern food, Yankee food. And I think that it's a beautiful holiday that used to represent the harvest. That you have a lot of indigenous American-inspired foods. You have a lot of colonial-inspired foods from the colonial period. But now it's really just become a big mishmash of consumerism, too. It seems to be more about football and parades than it does to be about observing the harvest or observing the the settlers in Plymouth, or observing reunification, or observing indigenous American culture. It just doesn't seem to be what it was when it was what it was. And it's sad, and I feel that Christmas has gone the same way. Christmas has perhaps gone the same way much quicker. But, I mean, a lot of people will be alone on Christmas. Doesn't matter. I mean, it doesn't matter. You always have yourself, and if you truly believe in God, I truly believe in God. Again, as I said, my friend, she brought me back to God. She brought me back to Pierre Teilhard de Chardin. Pierre Teilhard de Chardin brought me back to God. Okay, but if you truly believe in the one true God, you always have God, and God resides within you and everything else, regardless of where you are. That's all for this video. That's my 2 cents.